Yeah, hello, this is Jan, reporting for Gearslutz from the Superbooth. And I'm here with Olaf, AudioWerkstatt.de. And he makes a lot of really nice little handy tools. What do you have here, Olaf?
Yeah, we have two lines of products. One is the sequencers. It's a step sequencer for tonal stuff, for synthesizer, and a drum sequencer for controlling drums. Both have a focus on improvised music, on live jam sessions, not for storing big projects. It's really for a good workflow on live jamming.
Right.
A lot of details, but I think that's too much for the moment. Details to help that jamming situation.
Okay, but see, these are two sequencers, if I could.
Sequences. That is only MIDI.
Yeah.
It's one track. It has no storage. It's like an analog step sequencer, really for making a sequence in that moment.
Right.
Two patterns, A and B, 8 steps. You can chain it to a 16 step, and there are a lot of functions.
Improvised sequencing.
Exactly, and a lot of functions for copying from A to B, jumping from A to B in the middle of the pattern without losing synchronization, to make it really easy to perform and fast to make things. It's also, we make good quality buttons.
Right.
That you can really fast programming without a problem. And here the drum sequencer, it's the same for drums. It has also some special features. For example, this fader and knob is used like similar to some roll automat or arpeggiator. It's used as a programming help. You have the full notes, the 16ths, and can activate it here and can record what happens and stuff like this. And there's also like the accent track, for example. There's a mute track which globally mutes all tracks, the step that are assigned, and that makes it easy to make variations of your first thing. And if you mute the mute track, all the notes are played again, and so you have non-destructive variations where you can play with.
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of features like this, but I would like also to show you the other products, the clock line. It's a whole line of small products dealing around clock and synchronization. It's the first one is called the Midi Restarter. It's for resyncing your clock if you have to stop the slave and want to get it started again. You always have the problem that it's not in sync. And this device helps to start it exactly at the bar, the start of the next bar.
Does it automatically start at the next bar?
If you push the button, then it starts at the next bar.
All right.
And if you want, I can demonstrate it.
Yeah, sure.
We first take this mode.
Yeah.
It's stopped with the next bar.
In sync.
In sync. But I have also another mode. I make now a mistake. It's out of sync. It pushes it back to sync. And the third mode is the same as the first, pushing it back. But some really old machines have problems. It's sending a stop and a start directly after each other.
Yeah, they need some time,
and some need a little break in between, and that's the second mode.
Yeah.
The MIDI through, it's with all the clock things. If it's on like this, all the MIDI input is mixed to the clock at the output, and so only the MIDI out, only the clock is sent at the MIDI out.
Right.
That's the clock divider in a very fast run through, the restarter. And the other products is it's a clock divider for the MIDI clock. Important it has also odd dividers like 5 or 7, which is really interesting for experimental music. It feels like the sequences are not in sync, but after like 7 bars or something like that, they get back in sync, and it's wonderful for experimental stuff. The same, this is a new product, will appear sometime this year. It's a clock multiplier, and it's great if you, for example, make a track in fast tempo, find out it's not good as fast one, and make it very slow. And after a time, you decide you want a faster line on it, but with 60 BPM or where you ended, and you can't do fast things yet, then you can take the clock multiplier and make another device behind it that is running really fast, up to nine times the speed.
All right.
The clock shifter is for shifting the MIDI clock for single clock ticks forward and backwards. It's going endless, so you can shift it several bars, and it's always remembering. So if you stop and start the sequencer again, it's doing the same shift in standard mode, but they can also be started in a mode where it's always resetting with a restart. So if you use it for correcting a device which loses sometimes clock ticks and you want to correct it with it, it always starts at 0 again because you start without mistakes.
Yeah.
Then we have a interface MIDI clock to analog trigger clock, but the good thing is it's also the other way around, analog trigger clock to MIDI clock. So you can use your modular system with the analog clock and want to use, for example, a looper that is MIDI synced. You don't need a MIDI master clock. You can just use your analog clock and make it to MIDI. You can decide if it's V trigger, voltage trigger, or shortcut trigger. You can decide if it's the clock is coming in at 4th or 8th or 16th.
Can you feed it square waves?
It takes every pulse.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you can adjust the gate length that is coming out and all that stuff. And but also the other way around. You can also use it as MIDI to trigger converter.
Yeah, but if you feed it really fast square waves, if you feel it really fast ones.
It can do really fast MIDI clock then. You always have to know, the same as with a clock multiplier, the limit with fast speed is always what the MIDI slaves really can do. If a MIDI slave is built for, like a lot of instruments, maximum 300 BPM, and you can do that with a trigger, the same as with a MIDI clock, use it in a way that a clock of 600 BPM is produced, the chance is really high that your MIDI slave can cope with it. But it is possible. You can.
This is not a bottleneck.
Not the problem. Yeah.
Right.
And you can use that for a lot of. If you don't use the MIDI, for a lot of trigger tool works, like S trigger to V trigger or the other way around, a trigger to gate or gate to trigger, a clock divider, clock multiplier, everything as a tool.
Yeah, my Dupfer sequencer spits out different things than some of my modules, so this is a nice in-between module, right? People who use modular systems will have most of that functions except that generation MIDI clock in their modular systems. But it's a good chance for people who use old equipment, which also works with trigger and gate, but where they don't have a system, a modular with a power supply, but where they need standalone boxes for a clock divider or something like this. Yeah.
There it is good to use this tool because it's a small desktop unit.
Right.
The next one is Roland Sync 2448 to MIDI clock, and the other way around, MIDI clock to Roland Sync. And with both devices, this one and the one before, it's always the same. It's always the clock is sent on both outputs, and it's always only a question which input you use.
Right.
So at the thing of the DIN Sync and MIDI is always sent out in parallel, and you choose with a button if the DIN Sync clock or the MIDI clock is used as source.
Right.
The next one, and that's the last one at the moment, is DIN Restarter is the same as we had with the Midi Restarter, but for the old Sync 2448 boxes. So you can put it. An old problem is that the 303 has to be stopped to change some stuff in between, and with that you can do it and leave your 808 master clock running.
Yeah.
And then the two little boxes on the right, those are the output extensions for the analog triggers, for the drum sequencer. With a sub-D cable it can be connected and gives you analog trigger outputs.
Right.
That's in a fast run through a little bit on every product at the moment. All the products are handmade in Berlin. All the products are made from really high quality components. Because if you do handwork, the price is so high, then you can also
pay high prices for good quality connectors, button switches. It's all here, Switchcraft or Hirschmann, Marquardt. All the optocouplers are also from National Semiconductor or really companies with names, that these are products like we know it from the 60s or 70s or beginning of the 80s, products that still can be repaired in 40 years.
Yes. One question about your design philosophy.
Yeah.
What made you use this type of?
Yeah. What made me do it was really the search for having the possibility of a kind of enclosure, and that was possible to do for really, really small batches. Because I do products which are really not for the mass market.
Right.
And for some products, you don't know. I can tell you there is one, I don't tell what, but there's one product here where I even didn't sell the first batch. And other products where the batches got always one bigger, and I have the fourth or fifth batch, and the batch is now big. But the thing of enclosure gives me the possibility to do it.
Yeah,
and I can
with high quality components for not that much money.
Exactly, and I can show only the middle is used with electric components. All this is fake. You can look at it when it's running, it's no problem.
Because in a live situation, sometimes they're fluid, right?
The only thing that is that the downside here and the upside here is copper, and it's connected to those and connected to ground. So you have the Faraday shield.
Yeah, but that's
so you can use it on a big stage with 20,000 watts of light and all that electromagnetic fields. It won't give problems. It's a good enclosure in that meaning.
Yeah.
And the material is very strong. We sell the product since 3 years now, and up to now we never had any customer who had any problem with it.
Okay.
So we are very happy with it and love the design now.
Yeah. That one is on my personal list of modules.
Should be on everybody's list. Everybody who uses at least two sequencer.
Yeah, you want to change the settings. But thank you very much for this overview. And I hope to have to buy one of those from you, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks. I wish you a good Superbooth. Thanks for the interview.
Okay, thank you.